I'm John Cook. I'm the miller here at Foster's Mill at Swaffham Prior. It's called Foster's Mill because the family that owned the mill from 1896 through to 1970 were the Foster family, and in common with quite an English tradition, mills tended to take the name of the family that owned them for a long period of time. Foster's Mill has got 4 floors, the dust floor, the bin floor, the stone floor and the bottom floor, which is the meal floor. I'm sitting now in the dust floor, which is the top floor of the mill. So around me are parts of the mechanism that transfers the motion from the sails. So here we have the wallower, and above my head we have a huge big wheel called the brake wheel. Underneath me are the bins, and so we have the sack hoist here, which lifts the grain up from the ground floor up to the top, and then gravity's feeding it down. But literally we call this the dust floor because this is the bit that gets really mucky. We've got air coming in from above, where the cap's turning to face the wind, and you'd be amazed after a few days how much sweeping up there is to do up here. So here we are on the bin floor at Foster's Mill at Swaffham Prior. Bin floor quite simply because it is where the grain is stored, and so right beside me here we have one of the storage bins. As you can see, this is a kind of low ceiling. Quite simply, the mills were designed to ensure that all the space was used to maximum efficiency and effect, and when you need to store grain, you don't typically have very tall bins. The vertical shaft is running down, passing from the dust floor above us, down the mill to the stone floor and indeed the meal floor underneath. There's a clutch which enables the top of the mill to turn without turning all the machinery. It just gives it a bit of space to catch itself up. So the wind's just dropped, hence why it's a little bit quiet at the moment, but no guesses here. We're on the stone floor. Here we go, the wind is just picking up. We've actually got 2 sets of stones in the mill, and both of them are what we say in gear. They're both working. This mill has a really interesting tale. And this is graffiti. Well, this is 19th century graffiti. HG, that's Henry Galley. Now, Henry Galley was the first tenant of the mill. He moved in about 1861. There's also a gravestone, or at least part of a gravestone, in the mill house garden, and it also has the name Henry Galley on it. We're pretty sure that he lies not too far away, and in the 1880s, 1890s, he was a bit of a gambler, we know. If you didn't quite believe, then you didn't often get buried in the churchyard. So, spooks aware, here's Henry Galley for you. Well, we're down on the ground floor now. The ground floor is called the meal floor. The meal floor because this is where the meal comes out. So this is actually wholemeal spelt flour. This is freshly ground, being ground by one of our sets of stones that we've just seen upstairs. The flour's stored down here before it's distributed to our customers. We're milling wholemeal flour, which we then dress or sieve to make white flour. We're milling spelt grain for spelt, which we do as a wholemeal and as a white spelt. We're milling rye grain for rye flour, and we're also selling a malted 4-grain flour as well. I've had regular customers for years, and they're coming away each month with more flour, so they're doing more baking. Bluntly, the price of a loaf made at home is less than even a reasonably poor quality loaf in the supermarket. And people, I think, are now more prepared to make the time and to make it something which is part of the family events of the week.